Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about how important setting up a really good reading space is. So when we do any type of intuitive work, psychic work, readings for other people, I have found over the years that the space in which you do it is highly important, and how that space is set up is equally important. So I'm going to be talking about how you can set up that space for yourself, no matter how big or how small of a room you have. And I'm also going to be taking you through my reading space. This has actually been like a video several years in the making to kind of show you the space that I'm in right now. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Lauren. I am a psychic coach, and I like to help people grow their psychic abilities, also their psychic businesses. I know that's not everybody out there, but whether or not you're reading for yourself or other people, this video is going to pertain to you. So please subscribe if you're interested in learning all about strengthening your psychic abilities and kind of getting tips and tricks on how to do that along the way. So let's talk about like a bad reading space first. Bad reading spaces are just not conducive for your psychic ability. If they are cluttered, if it's a space in which you can easily get distracted in, if it's a place that's not conducive for your psychic ability, you're going to have a lot harder time, doing those exercises, doing those psychic readings for yourself or other people. Now, this doesn't mean that if you are in a reading space that's not 100% where you want it to be, that, your readings are bad. It's just more that it might cause like a little block. For example, if you're in a space and you cannot control the sound, you might have some like distractions from outside going on that you just can't control. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, you can't read. You just kind of have to work through that block through a reading. Like, for example, when that happens, I always say, oh, that distracting sound actually takes me deeper into my psychic ability. I got that from my coach, and I loved that. It kind of taught you to work with the distraction instead of against it. That's besides the point. So I think the best way to illustrate this is just to go through the past spaces that I've had. And I started, I think, doing readings in my bedroom because that was a private space for me. But I often found, because I have my bedroom very darkened and because it's where I sleep, it just was not a good space for me to be in because it just instantly made me sleepy. And it makes sense. Like, if you're in your bedroom, you are going to automatically kind of get sleepy because your body is expecting that kind of energy, you know what I mean? So like, and also like sitting on top of my bed was like not comfortable for my back or my knees. And so it just hurt. And so I had this added distraction of just like not being comfortable because sitting on the bed was uncomfortable. So I quickly realized that my bedroom was not the place to do readings. Also, our bedroom is really close to our living room. And if my husband was up and around and walking, or like talking on the phone or doing anything that he was doing, cooking, I could hear everything. And it was really hard to kind of get rid of that distraction. I also tried to read in my husband's room at one point. And that was kind of like my next reading space because that's where we had like our shared computer. And it was a good space for me to like set up a video camera. But I also found, because it's so dark, there's only one like tiny little window in that room. It was dark. It was also making me sleepy. Also, I felt like because it wasn't my room, it just didn't feel like it was like energy for readings. I felt like I was my husband's bedroom is like a man cave. It's for gaming. And so I always felt like I should be in there to edit my videos because that's where I go to edit my videos. Or I should be in there to play video games, which I sometimes do. I play like Sims in there. So the space didn't feel like a reading space. I also had very limited space in there to actually like lay out tarot cards. It wasn't the best. I also have to use headphones if I'm in there because of the way my husband's audio is set up. So you kind of get the point here of like why all of these things would kind of get in my way of trying to do a really good reading. I also tried my living room. This did work when I didn't have a son and my husband could go somewhere else. It was bright. I was able to spread out my tarot cards. This was a really good spot. But if I was doing like a video reading, I couldn't, there's no computer in there, so it didn't make sense as well. But now that I have a son, and usually if I'm doing readings, my husband is watching him, there's no way I could do any sort of readings in a living room because he would just be everywhere. He'd be climbing on me. That just would not work. And then the last reading space that I had before I actually got into this space was kind of like my old office. Now this is actually now my son's room, but before my son was born, this is basically where I did readings for the longest time. You'll actually see in some of my old videos me recording in that room, and that's kind of like what my space was. So I was able to control that space a lot more. There was a lot more light. I made sure that all of my psychic stuff was in there. I had a computer in there. It was probably the best place for me to be. Honestly, that room worked great. The only reason why I'm kind of categorizing it as bad is because I had to get out of that room. We were gonna have a baby. I needed to be able to put my son in his own room. So basically, we had this shed and it was kind of half full. It was full of gardening equipment, but we also have a garage. And we were like, you know, we could fit all of this in our garage. Let's turn this shed space into Lauren's office. That way I had a place for all of my things and I didn't have to just completely sacrifice like my office space, and my son could still have a nursery or a bedroom. So I wrangled my dad and my husband basically to help me turn this space into a place that I could actually sit, do any sort of work, readings, just business work, anything. And it was also a place that I could keep all of my books, all of kind of like my stuff that is not like bedroom stuff. I hope that makes sense. And that's why this has been years in the making, is because I knew before I was even pregnant that I was going to need this space and we were going to need to make room for a baby. So we started early and then it continued throughout the whole pandemic. We were working in here. I was pregnant while we were working in here. And it is still technically not even done, but for the most part, it's done. And basically, I've been doing readings in here ever since. So there's a lot of things that could contribute to like a space not being very good to read in. Obviously, if it's cluttered or dirty or dark, or if it's going to make you sleepy, or if it's loud, too noisy, all of those things are going to be like distractions that you have to fight while you're doing this type of work. And I do think that it's like meditation in that, you know, when they say to meditate, don't do it in the same place that you go to sleep, or to sit in a different position, so that, you know, your body is not thinking, hey, I'm going to sleep. Your body is saying, oh, this is the meditating spot. And I think that's the same with like the physical place that you do readings in. Like, I don't feel like you should be doing readings in the bathroom or the bed or the kitchen, because that like that's for the you know, that's for cooking, that's for going and showering and taking care of yourself. So I feel like the energy of those spaces just doesn't fit that energy. And I forgot to mention too that I used to read outside. I tried to do that. Too loud, too noisy, sometimes too hot, too cold. But I could see that a lot of people probably do read outside, especially if like working with nature really does help them. Now, I don't want you all to like think at all that I'm implying that you need to basically set aside a whole room to do that. I'm very lucky that I was able to do this on the like property that we have. We own this property, so like I had the luxury of basically turning something that wasn't supposed to be what it was into my like office space. Even if you can only make it just like a corner of your room, or just literally like a table that you go out and set up, or maybe even your bedside table, like it's okay. Don't focus too much on size or like comparing it to what other people have. I think the more important thing is to have a space that you come to consistently, that you're like, hey, this is where I do these readings, this psychic work, this intuitive work. Like, even if you need to just go out and like buy a shelf from IKEA and make a really big shelf that has all of your stuff on it, like I think that is just fine in itself. So now I want to go through this actual space and show you guys what I have here, what I prioritize, and why I have the things in here that I do. So this little corner of my shed is my office space. This is where I like actually get stuff done that I need to do on my computer. I also do readings here and live nights. So above my workspace, I like to keep a vision board. This is not the best vision board. I need like a color printer. But these I'm just kind of putting up like literal things that I want, or maybe just a feeling that I want to achieve, like financial freedom. And then I also have like my goals for this year in a visible place, and like readings that I did for the full year, and just like daily routines that I would like to remember. I used to collect pins, and I still do every now and then, and so I like to put those on display. I don't like a whole lot of clutter on my desk at all, so I like to keep everything very organized. I have my laptop out here. I have more storage underneath, including a trash can. But this is just like the essentials of what I need to get my basic work done. This is my office. And then over here, we've got a window. I just love sitting at this desk and being able to look out the window, see the different weather, like when it's about to rain, like it might right now. Like I just love being able to see outside. I also have all of my crystals on display here. I don't have that many, but I like this because it kind of gets charged in the sun all day, but then if the moonlight comes in, sometimes they get charged in the moonlight. And I just like showing them off because they're so pretty, and I used to keep them in a box and I wanted them out and on display. Then I have just a more practical area over here. I've got my little printer in case I need to print things. I keep all of my film equipment in this little corner as well. And then this is a lovely painting by Annis Designs. She is a local Colorado artist. I'm currently getting another commission done by her that I'm going to put right here. And one of the things that I really loved about one of my teachers' homes that I took shamanic courses in is she had her home just covered in artwork. Like literally there wasn't an inch available on her wall, and it was all of deities and guides and just very like spiritual beings. And it was very, is eclectic the right word? Just like crammed full of artwork. I want to be able to fill these walls with things that give me kind of like a spiritual vibe. And I have a lot of them on my wish list. Like I know what I want to get. This one is going to be a mermaid that's coming. I'm so excited. And mermaids have a huge significance for me. This one is actually tiger lily, sort of inspired from Peter Pan, which also has a big spiritual meaning for me as well. So I make sure that anything that I hang up has meaning. I would like to put like some stained glass stuff into this window. I've seen some really cool like crystal designs. AV Aura makes these beautiful like crystal sun catchers. I would love to just add more to this window so it just brings in more colorful light. I just want it to be, when I come in here, that it feels safe, it feels beautiful, and it's somewhere that I actually want to come back to. I also have a heater down here so that during the winter time I can stay warm, or if it's a really cold day, turn it on, warm it up. And then this wall is kind of like the first thing that people see when they walk in, or when I walk in, and this is just such good wood that I kind of wanted to make this my display area, also the background of a lot of my videos. So I have all of my certifications from my psychic studies, and I actually used to have these in a box until I went over to my friend's house who was also in the Aspen program and saw that she had all of hers on display. I was like, that's such a great idea. Like, I have my diploma on display in the house. I've got like our Emmy Awards. Like, I have every other accomplishment hung up. Like, why haven't I done it with this? So, I mean, going into a future space, it's going to be very hard for me not to need a place that has a lot of light like this, but also like a space that I can film in. And in all of those other bedrooms that I had before, I could not film very easily, and you've seen some of those old videos where I had to put up a backdrop behind me and it just looked like garbage. Now this area you never see, but in this original shed there was a big kind of loft space, and I decided to keep some of it just because I do have a lot of storage. We have a kind of small house, lots of Disney movies, Barbies, kid toys, mostly that I'm saving for my future kids. I even got a mermaid tail right here. So stuff that we don't need often, I keep it up here as storage. So this is another thing that still needs to be finished. I need to put some trimmer on this, but this is just another practical thing of having an AC unit. I also have a fan up above, but this I can just turn on a fan, I can turn on the cool. One of the downsides to being outside here is that it does get hot in here and cold. So that is not my favorite thing about having to be outside, especially when I'm filming, because sometimes I'll get so sweaty I'll have to turn this on in between takes and I'm just like dying. Then I just kind of have like my craft area. This is where I have paper, pencils, all sorts of like colored utensils, more office stuff, stickers, sewing things, scissors, collage stuff. Basically so that if I ever need to get creative, I can just come in here and find everything that I need. And then this is probably my favorite area of this room, and that's where I kind of keep all my woo-woo stuff. I do want to add an altar, like a small altar to this corner eventually, so that when I do rituals, I usually like to kind of do it over here on this side. I have a picture of my guide. I have a picture of my cousin who I lost. I have my journal here that I use a lot for rituals. And then I have all my tarot cards, oracle cards, tools, runes. I needed something to hang on this wall, so I found this tapestry. I'd like to find some better artwork, but these walls are technically floors, so I can't nail things into this very easily, and tape doesn't stick very well either, but whatever. And then I have more artwork over here, and this is another Colorado artist. Her name's Aria Fawn. And when I saw this piece, there was just something about it that felt very spiritual to me. Like, I feel like I could go there in a shamanic journey. I absolutely love this. So I got this of her print. And this is definitely more of like my practical, I would call this like my inner child area, because I've got lots of Disney stuff. I've got Barbies, things that really bring out my inner child. My son has been in here messing with things. These are all of my books, and I have them organized kind of by type. And basically when I moved into this space, I had like a bookshelf and a half full of books. And I went and I donated the ones that I didn't want anymore to the library. And usually what I do is I rent books from the library, test them out first, and then if I love them, I will buy them. And then in this tote, I've got old journals. I have journals back from, I think, 2007 when I was like in middle school. And then I have basically all of my, I would say like woo-woo materials that I don't like keep out on display. Sage, candles, shells, notes on crystals, tapestries for like when I need to cover tables with events. I kind of have like my bag that I take everything with. I've got bowls, all my oils as well. So basically all my extra woo-woo witchy stuff that I can't like, that I just don't need out on display at all times. And then last but not least, I've got a piano that I do not know how to play, that has no batteries, that I do want to learn how to play one day. That's one of those inner child things that I just can't get rid of it, because it's always sparked joy for me, and I wish I would have learned, and I wanted to give myself that when I have the extra time. And then these curtains, actually, like, I untie them and I can cover up this whole room. But over here, I've got this Japanese chime. I got it from Japan. It was like the one thing I really knew I wanted to get while I was there. I brought it home in one piece. It's like a glass bauble. And when I open up this door and the wind starts to blow, it makes such a pretty chime. One of the downsides though with this whole entire shed is it's outside. It's not insulated very well. And so the noise can be a lot. I'm constantly struggling in a lot of my videos. You can hear me in the background telling you, oh, sorry, the car's driving by, this or that is happening. They're literally building a house right next door. You can see they're tearing down the fence right now and fixing it for us. Yay! Anyways, but the construction is like such a issue to fight against, and literally we had one house on this side being built and now there's one house on this side being built. But as soon as they're done, hopefully that's not like as much of an issue. However, the one beautiful thing is that like when I was working, or when I do work in my house, I can hear my son running upstairs. I can hear him screaming. I can hear what my husband is doing. When I come out here, there's no auditory distractions besides like outdoor noise. So I end up getting a lot more done because I'm not stressed out about, you know, what's my husband doing, what's my son doing. It really feels like I'm leaving another space to get my work done. Another thing that I love is that like every time I need to go to the bathroom or get a drink or go inside because I forgot something, I have to walk outside. And I love how much it has put me outside on a daily basis. Even when it's cold, like I get fresh air a lot more because I'm constantly going in and out. I mean, not everything in here is done. We have a few outlets that we still need to fix, trim that still needs to be done. But besides that, and covering up that AC unit, I think it's like almost done. The outside is looking pretty bad, but we need to do outdoor trim and outdoor paint. I'm hoping to do that before the end of the summer. I love this space so much, mostly because of the light, the being able to be outside, you know, not a whole lot of noise distraction. Again, downsides are sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold. It's very echoey in here, and I hate that. So a lot of my videos have more echo than I would like, but it's also like a creative space for me. So sometimes I will come here at night and just do fun things for me. I'll come read and meditate. And to me, to have a space that's both just for my creativity and for my work that's completely mine, is just something that I will always need out of a home. And hopefully this little she shed won't spoil me too much, in that I'm disappointed in the next one that I end up having. Also a downside, bugs. Now I hope that just kind of gives you guys some inspiration, just kind of looking at everything in here. Doesn't again mean that you have to like copy me or have the exact same amount of space. Like, not at all. That's just my hope to kind of inspire you guys and also show you what I did with my space, because I'm pretty proud of it. It took us a long time to build this. Now, I do think that there are just some bare bones things that everybody should have, whether it's just like a little altar, a shelf, bedside table, whatever it is. But I think the most important thing, again, is to remember that everything should have a purpose and everything should like spark joy, as what was it, Marie Kondo used to say, does say. Obviously it needs to kind of be clean and free of clutter too. Like, even if I'm working on a desk before I do a reading, I try to clear it off and get all the rest of my work things out of like my visual space, so that I'm not reminded, oh crap, after this I gotta go do that, get that done. But I do think, just bare bones, everyone probably needs a journal, things to write with, you know, whatever feels best to you. I love the feel of pens. I really like the ballpoint pens that have a lot of ink in it, that just like leave a lot of ink. Those are my favorites, so I make sure to have that. I have a journal that I enjoy looking at. I would also recommend like something for music. I honestly just use my phone, but if you have like another like Echo device, I have those kind of all over my house. Just any device that you might need to play music. You might also like have a space to like put your supplies, but if it needs to be in a whole nother like area, that's totally fine too. Like, one of the downsides of having this shed is that normally I'm not here at nighttime. Like, normally when I'm doing my spiritual work, if you've seen my spiritual like nightly routine video, I'm inside my house. And so I do kind of have like two little things going on out here. I've got like an altar in this space, but I still have like an area inside as well. So I've kind of got a nightly one. So if I'm not coming out to do like a big full moon, new moon ritual out here, I kind of have like a little space inside my bedroom where I still have all that same stuff, writing materials, music, a light, a pen. And I also keep like a few of the tarot decks that I'm like interested most in the drawer underneath my bedside table. So I've got another area that's smaller, if that helps to kind of illustrate if you don't have like a whole big room to use it in. And I think the last just like bare bones things you need is just like somewhere to sit or lay down. Even in this space, I've got the chair that I'm sitting in, but I could technically lay down here, and I've done that before with like friends when we've done like past life regressions together. Or if I'm in my bedroom, like I could lay on my bed or sit on my bed. If you don't have a ton of room, you can also buy like little meditation cushions. So you could easily like sit that on the floor, sit that on your bed. I do have like a whole like Amazon like list of every cool thing that you could put in like your Zen space. So I will also link that down below just to give you some ideas. So if you don't know where to start with those bare bone things. Also just think 5 senses. Like, what can I add in here that's visually interesting, that's auditorily interesting? Like, you could have chimes, you could add music. What smells good? How can I make this space smell good? Like, if it really stinks, you could go out and like literally buy like air fresheners, or maybe you just keep your windows open more often. Or maybe you get an oil diffuser and run it like an hour before you know you're gonna be in there. You know, if your space is too dark, it doesn't mean you have to like go out and like get a whole new bedroom. You can just go get some more lights, you know what I mean? Or if it's too bright, you know, darken it up with some curtains. Honestly, there's no wrong way to do this. Like, it will evolve over time. And like my little shed here, she shed, is like a perfect example of that. I've been in so many spaces, and I've redecorated so many times, and I just keep turning it into something that I enjoy more and more. I will also make the note here, if you really, really can't like alter your space and it's really like messing up your readings, you can go to metaphysical stores and ask them to rent out space. Most of them seem to rent like on a monthly basis, and you kind of have to pay either upfront or as you go. Some places might just only let you come in and rent the space as you need it. I find that that's very few and far between that I've found. I personally have just not done that because, for one, I've not had enough readings to make that make sense, and what I have here in my home works just fine, and I'm very rarely meeting people in person besides like going to events or going to their home. So to me, it just doesn't make sense for me to do in person. I think a lot of like older psychics who were around before like social media did not exist, that was how they had to market themselves, is they just kind of had to hang out in a metaphysical store and wait for somebody to come walk up to them. I don't think that's so much the case anymore now. I just don't think that's as much of a thing. But if you really like that marketing style, absolutely go for it. There are a ton of places that I think are definitely renting out like little rooms here and there. All in all, you guys, the space that you read in, even if it's just for yourself, really has a huge impact on how well you can connect to your psychic abilities. Honestly, I'm just giving you an excuse to go buy shit that you don't need. So here's your permission. Make this space beautiful. Make it somewhere you want to be. Even if you're not doing, psychic work in it 24/7, use it to just make a beautiful space. And I can't tell you guys how much I love being in here. Part of the reason I don't want to move is because I don't want to leave this little space. I have very high expectations for the next reading space that I am in. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this video was helpful. If you guys do decide to like redo your space or start an altar or start any of this, please like tag me in it in your Instagram posts or wherever you share it. I'd love to see it, even in our like psychic development group. I want to see what ideas you guys have and what inspirations you have. It could maybe even help some other people come up with good ideas for their spaces. Be sure to jump on over to Patreon if you want more monthly content from me, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Specifically, sometimes I've been to some where they like required you to kind of like do a reading for them before